They're defining moments in each of our lives. And I'd like for us to think about when we receive inspiration, what do we do with it? Does it actually change our lives, or do we just get back into the autopilot mode that we're normally on? And for me personally, growing up in a middle-class suburban community in Indiana, I had a number of inspirational moments, but one of them, it was my experience with Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. And being someone who grew up around mostly, white Americans in Indianapolis, I very much connected with Sheikh Hamza Yusuf's story. But what struck me as amazingly different was this man, he could have just had a regular, typical American life, and he decided that that wasn't enough for him. He decided that he wanted to answer his deepest questions, that he wanted to travel the world and learn the language of the Quran, language of Arabic, which now he speaks better than many Arabs. That actually triggered something in me to say that, hey, what could I have from my life? What more could I have if I was willing to take the risk, if I was willing to make the sacrifice? And so this took me on a journey across the next few years. While I was still doing my studies at University of Michigan and then at Harvard, I spent intermittent periods of time traveling to Morocco. I spent about a year in Syria. I was in Jordan, and beautiful places, and I learned a lot while I was there in addition to my studies. But what really transformed me, and I feel I take away from that entire experience, was learning the language of the Quran, Arabic. Life before Arabic is not like life after Arabic. And just standing in Tarawih prayer, and at one point I realized, it just struck me while I was in prayer, that I'm actually understanding what I'm hearing. This was just something that was a dream for me. It wasn't something that I thought could be achieved, but it was something that I was actually in prayer, and I'm able to listen to what the Imam is saying, and instead of just, liking it and having a feel-good moment because it was beautiful and it was Quran, I know this is divine words, I was actually able to follow the story. That was very transformative for me. And I thank Sheikh Hamza Yusuf for that. And I'd like for each and every one of us to think, what have been those moments that have inspired us to do more, whether it's to learn Arabic or do something else with our lives that we can capture and we can transform into something that can be life-changing. And Fawakih, we're trying to help students, we're trying to help those who have a goal of understanding the Quran in a more intimate, personal way, instead of through the barrier of a translation or through someone else's interpretation or someone else's opinion, but actually have a personal, loving relationship with this message. We're trying to help them make that journey. And it doesn't have to be one that requires you to go overseas. It doesn't have to be one that requires you to spend years and years of study or make immense sacrifices to be away from your family. We're trying to create a model in which in a summer, in 1 month, or in a year, spending 3 hours, just 3 hours a week, that we hope to take students from a point in which they are, like me, standing in Tarawih prayer and just having a feel-good moment and knowing the blessings they're getting but not understanding a word of what they're saying, to becoming ones that are standing in prayer or picking up the Quran, or actually just listening to the dua after the prayer is done, or making our own dua and actually having that personal experience in which we know what we're saying and we're being transformed by that. We want to help people make that journey and make that transformation in their own lives. And this is something that I'd like to share with others, and that's the reason we set up the Fawakih Institute.